Good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Today is Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. It's about 6 a.m. here in southwestern Nevada. My name is Edward Bevilacqua. This is Department of Career Services, where our goal is to help our students and other interested people on their journey through this life. No big deal. Premise is we are not just atoms in the void, that we have a soul that transcends death and it continues on the path that we were on. Or maybe ricochets, but it's going to ricochet. Its ricochet will be dependent upon the angle from which it was shot, etc. So, and we believe that Jesus was the creator incarnate, God as man, and that he came down to teach us. So I tried my parenthetical footnote. I tried my question on a third AI this morning, Magisterium. So I did on Grok, Perplexity, and now on Magisterium, asking the question, imagine you're Jesus. What is your simple core theology? And then you are St. Paul. What is your simple core theology of Christianity? Surprise, surprise, surprise. Not the same. Not the same. So what does that mean? And I'm sure if I did it from an Old Testament perspective, maybe asking some of the prophets the same question, it would all be different. Right. So no wonder there's 40,000 different Christian denominations. They pick one thing and they go with that and they try to harmonize the rest. They try to say, our view, our vision, our theology is more precise and it fits in. And they're doing this because there is, I think it's in Romans, maybe it's Corinthians, where it's basically saying the whole Bible is equal. Everything is equal to everything else. Where common sense would tell us if you believe that Jesus is God as man, and he says this, that would have more weight than a little fragment of something that a prophet said, or that a man said. You'd think it would have more weight. But when you're locked into the Bible is inerrant, it's all from God, everything is equal, that diminishes what Jesus says. And that's how you get 40,000 different flavors of Christianity, because you can pick up on this thing here and say, this thing here is equal to this thing here. These two things are equal. We choose to focus on this. But if you look at what Jesus said, it's going to be different than what the other 40,000 flavors, the other 40,000 varieties. Anyway, so how do we do it? Well, we do it a couple ways. One is through the podcast, where the idea is create a routine and repetition to the point where it becomes a habit, and build better habits. That's how you get through life. That's how you create a great trajectory for life. You have better habits than people who don't. You don't do the things that people who have bad habits do, and you do the things that people who have bad habits don't. So as Seth Godin said, people like us do things like this. Or successful people who are successful People are successful because they do the things unsuccessful people don't do. It's pretty simple. But more importantly, we have our daily worksheet, which is from the experts telling us what to do, because we don't need to figure it out for ourselves. We don't want to figure it out for ourselves. You go to the expert. So our worksheet down below, while you're there, subscribe, click on the bell, share. You know the thing. So the worksheet breaks it down into 4 key areas: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And that kind of goes with the idea of the gifts that we have been given as part of the gift of life. So not only are we alive, like so many other, probably millions of different types of organisms, like how many different types of grass are there? So not only are we alive, not only are we sentient like other animals, but we have a way higher degree. And that can be as expressed with the body that we have, our fingers, toes, ability to run, stamina, the way we are built is superior to other animals. Plus, we have a brain that is the most complex thing in the universe other than the universe. And we have emotions that are way beyond any other living organism. And those are the gifts that we have been given. So what do we want to do? We want to honor the gift and thereby honor the giver. That's it. So we've been given these gifts. They're not a loan. It's not a bargain for exchange. There's no contract. There's no expectation. It's a gift, kind of like a 4-part gift: life, a great body, a great brain, and emotions. Honor the gift by using it as intended, taking care of it, thereby honoring the giver. And the giver typically gets vicarious pleasure as the recipient of the gift uses the gift and becomes better because of the gift and makes the giver feel good. All right, so today is day 2 in week 2. And so we have a systematic approach. So we don't just wing it every day. We have a systematic approach. This is a 4-week, 28-day course. And we go through this day by day, week by week. So this is week number 2, day number 2 of Inside My Skull-Sized Kingdom. Yesterday, we learned about neurons, what they do, how they work. Today, we're going to learn about neurotransmitters, because when we get down to the neuron level, 1 neuron is neuroscience, 2 neurons is psychology. That's a joke from Dan Dennett. So the neurons communicate. The neuron is powered by electricity, and they communicate through neurotransmitters. So they get very close, and there's a little gap called a synapse between the two, and 1 neuron releases neurotransmitters that are received by the other neuron, and that's where the magic happens. And today's TED Talk is Simon Sinek talking about 5 fundamental neurotransmitters, 5 fundamental chemicals that he says are responsible for about 90% of our feelings. Endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and then cortisol. So these are the ones that make us feel good. This is like a brain cloud stress hormone. Endorphins and dopamine, Simon Sinek refers to as selfish chemicals. because you don't need anybody's help to release them. So you go to the gym, you release endorphins. You start laughing, endorphins. Endorphins, Simon Sinek said, mask physical pain. An example he uses, have you ever laughed so hard you say, stop, stop, it hurts? That's because you've depleted your supply of endorphins. Or you go on a run, and 10 minutes into the run, you start feeling good, endorphins. He says there's a good reason for that, and that is that humans are not the fastest runners, but we have endurance. So when we're chasing down a gazelle, way faster than us, but we can literally run it into the ground if we keep going. And so if we feel good while we're running, we're going to keep going. If it's painful when we run, we're going to stop. So we've evolved to have endorphins, release endorphins when we're doing things that are physically painful. The next selfish gene is the big one, dopamine, which Simon Sinek describes as highly, highly, highly contagious. It's the thing that makes us feel good. And for Simon Sinek, keeping it on a really basic level, it's the do it. It's the one that's associated with tasks. It's the rock and roll, sex, drugs, rock and roll one. Whatever it targets the willpower to keep doing it. So he'll say you could cavemen off in the distance see an apple tree, they get a little shot of dopamine, and they're going to go get that apple. And the ones who have the most dopamine will overcome the obstacles between them and the apple tree. Oh, the ground is hard. There's rocks. There's this. There's that. There's saber-toothed tigers. Whoever has the most dopamine is going to get the apple. And every drip, drip, drip dopamine, every step we get closer to the thing, and that drives us to it. But it's highly contagious. It can be used for anything to make us feel good. So you feel sad, there's a piece of chocolate cake, you eat the cake, you feel good, dopamine. So this can, when we get into the deeper levels of this, you can see that if you look at a person's body, you can tell what their go-to neurotransmitters are. So for example, if they're in good shape and they work out a lot, endorphins. If they're short for their weight, then that means when they're not feeling good, they'll eat to make them feel good. So there could be underlying stress issues, trauma, whatever. The next two are social neurotransmitters. We release them because of and or with and or thinking of other people. Serotonin, which he calls the pride one, status, we get a tattoo and we feel good. We graduate from school, we feel good. So that drives us to do more education because it makes us feel good. And then we see our parents or other people that we want to be proud of us. That gives us a shot of serotonin, and it gives them a shot of serotonin. So they feel good watching us win an award or get some status. Jordan Peterson points out that if lobsters put in a thing where they fight, and the lobster that loses, that goes off away, okay, I lost, I'm not going to fight against you anymore. If you give that lobster serotonin, the losing lobster serotonin, it will come back and fight again. Pride. Okay. Irish warriors. And finally, oxytocin, what he calls the rainbows, pink unicorns, all of the wonderful stuff that we feel when we're with people we love, or we have a little baby, or you have a comfort dog. that the feeling we get when we are hugged or hug someone who's in need, etc. That's the one. Oxytocin. And then we can combine these things to have, which we'll learn about tomorrow, Thursday, to have cocktails. So if you combine oxytocin and serotonin, cocktail. One thing that happens when you mix dopamine and oxytocin, the dopamine gets shut off, and that's how AA works. Dopamine is driving you to drink. What do they tell you to do? Call a sponsor, go to a meeting. What does those two things do? They release oxytocin. So as the oxytocin is going up, the dopamine is going down. You no longer crave drinking. Really basic stuff. So who am I? I am the manifestation of my thoughts, what goes on in my neurons, and the chemicals released into my body that make me feel a certain way. So when I know that, then I know I can dial in who I need to be. So instead of starting with the stimulus and we respond, we start with the intended outcome and work our way back. Okay, so what do I want to happen? Okay, I want this to happen. Okay, what does my behavior need to be to get this to happen? How do I need to feel to behave the way I need to feel to behave to get that to happen? Okay, so what neurotransmitter do I need to release to get me to feel that way? And what thought do I have to have, or what experience do I have to release that neurotransmitter to get me to feel the way I need to feel to behave in a certain way, so the outcome will be this. So for example, let's say I'm walking down the sidewalk, a house is burning, a woman comes out screaming, "My baby's inside, save my baby, save my baby." And I don't want to go in because half of my face could get melted off. I could die. So the behavior I want is to not run in the building. Or the outcome I want is to not run in the building. The behavior is to freeze, say no, argue, whatever. How do I need to feel? Fear. Fear would be one thing. Fear is the quickest, easiest, bam. I'm afraid to run in the building. So if I don't run in the building, the outcome is going to be the baby's going to die. So, but I don't really care about that. The outcome will be, I won't die. I won't get injured. That's the outcome I focus on. I won't get injured. The behavior is I don't run into the building. The emotion is fear. I'm afraid to run in the building because I will die. If I don't run in the building, I won't die. So so what's the trigger to release the cortisol? The images of dying in the fire, the heat, the smoke, my lungs burning, my eyes burning, the building collapsing on top of me. Maybe I get out, I'm safe, but half my face is gone. My kids look at me as the Phantom of the Opera type of situation. And that's it. And I can do that the opposite. If I wanted to actually run into the building, what's the outcome I want? To save the child, to run into the building, to save the child. What's the behavior? Run in the building. What do I need to feel? Courage, right? Courage. What do I need to manifest, or experience, think of in order to release serotonin and probably a lot of adrenaline and endorphins to mask the physical, whole cocktail of these are the things I need to release. I need to release these so I feel this way, pumped up, ready to run in that building fast as possible. I need to do that. So my behavior is I run in the building and I save the child. That's it. That's who I am. If I understand that, then I can dial in who I need to be. I'm not a slave to my emotions. I'm not a slave to my beliefs. I can engineer my way around it. And that's the beauty of the gifts that we have. I can use my brain to release the emotions I need to have to do the things that my brain tells me to do. And my motivation is to honor the gifts that I have been given, like the brain, like a body, like emotions, to honor the gifts and thereby honor the giver. So instead of me being an object that I'm just waiting for God to tell me what to do. Okay, run in the building. Okay, be excited. Okay, I'm not a marionette. Instead of being a marionette, a puppet that's just waiting for God to tell me what to do, sitting there like a meerkat, waiting for God to tell me what to do. I'm a free agent because I've been given these gifts, and God is in all things. So God vicariously experiences what I'm doing. And that's one thing an omniscient God, omnipresent God is unable to do. He's unable to experience your life until you live it, until we live it. Hypervicariousness. The one thing an omniscient God cannot do is experience your life until you live it. Now, you, of course, can get into a whacked out thing and say, well, God can do all things, so he can do that. And you say, well, how could God experience the emotions of me doing a thing before I do it? Because if he experiences, that means I've done it. Okay, way over time. Apologies once again. Shivas and Shalom, Holmes.